During the 1960s, we entered a new tabletop golden age, where games like Tactics 2, Gettysburg, and Diplomacy exploded in popularity among hobbyist circles. These are military simulations that used miniatures on boards to carry out battles, with a focus on strategy, positioning, and probability in order to carry out gameplay. At the same time, Dave Arneson was experimenting with something. Shifting away from armies to individuals, he created Blackmore. Blackmore wasn't the first game to experiment with players controlling individual characters, but created in 1971 before becoming playable after 72 to 73. It's the earliest documented record of a game that implemented an XP system. By killing monsters, you would level up your character, gaining stats, abilities, and treasure during your session. This principle of rewarding playtime with visible progress wouldn't just be a defining part of games, but a key concept in how battle passes work. Now, before we delve further into the history of battle passes, we need to take the time to define what a battle pass is. A battle pass is a progression system that is unlocked by paying a premium that rewards you as you level through it, usually by playing the game or completing quests. While Blackmore set the foundation for the XP system, it wouldn't be formalized until the release of D&D in January 1974. You see, Blackmore was a homebrew campaign, meaning that rules could change on a whim between campaigns, but D&D codified its rules into a published format. Anyone could pick up the book and have a preset standard of what the XP system should look like. At this point, the XP system itself wouldn't see much change, quickly finding its way onto the online space on 1975 on the first computer RPG. It wouldn't be until 3 years later that the XP system would find its way onto the multiplayer scene with Mud 1, a text-based online multiplayer RPG. But the first time we'd see anything resembling the Battle Pass wouldn't be until 3 decades later, on November 5th, 2007, with the release of You see, most games at the time let you level up your character during the gameplay loop, but COD 4 rewarded you for playing with XP. We take it for granted now, but this would be the first time that players were able to progress outside of the gameplay and story. Unlocking perks and weapons were now a reward for your commitment to playing the game. Afterwards, 2008 days had passed with no upset in the establishment. Then, on the 2009th, Valve released the Dota International 2013 Interactive Compendium. This proto-battle pass, or proto-pass, was the first time we would see premium used to unlock a progression system for rewards. But unlike its modern counterpart, there was no way to actively level through the progression system yourself. To explain, I need to talk about why the compendium was created in the first place. You see, with Dota's 2013 International Tournament right around the corner, Valve came up with a way to raise money for their prize pool while also have the community engage in a collaborative effort. For $10, you could purchase the compendium, a quarter of which would be contributed to the final prize pool. As the prize pool got larger, players would reach more milestones. These would then unlock rewards for everyone holding the compendium, but they didn't have to start from scratch. The prize pool already started at an initial $1.6 million. There were 7 of these stretch goals in all. The first milestone set at $1.7 million, while the last, a grand $3.2 million. No one knew just how far this would go, and 3 months later, on August 11th, 2013, the tournament qualifiers concluded. And the result?
They won this round! They're gonna do it!
They're
the
gonna
Kings
do
of
it!
the North!
Alliance wins! They win TI3!
The Alliance just won!
A prize pool of $2,874,381, with a gross revenue of about $5 million. They had successfully raised over $1 million for their prize pool. The compendium was purchased over 500,000 times, and the community had reached all but the last goal. Now, on paper, this might not seem all that impressive. After all, the Call of Duty Black Ops First Strike DLC, which had come out 2 years prior, made an estimated $21 million on release. But for Dota 2, making about $80 million in microtransactions in 2013, the compendium covered a little over 6% of that. Considering that this was a new experimental idea that's easily repeatable with great scalability, it was as successful as it could have been. More importantly though, this had told Valve that players were willing to pay for progressive rewards, and it wouldn't take long for this idea to be more than a minor success. The following year, on May 9th, 2014, Valve announced the compendium for the 2014 International Tournament. Just like the first, there was a starting pool of $1.6 million. At $10 per compendium, they were again putting a quarter of that towards the prize pool. The difference being that instead of 7 stretch goals, the 2014 compendium had 23, topping out with a final milestone at $10 million. This goal was over 3 times the size of the last one, and they weren't even able to complete the last one. How could they possibly think this would work this time? Well, on July 21st, the International 2014 tournament came to an end, and the result?
He goes down as well. There's 2 blank walls. And GG! 15 minutes in, it's over. Newbie convincingly moving their way through the winner's bracket.
$10,923,977. They absolutely demolished the goal. Over 3.7 million compendiums were sold, and almost earning an extra 1 million past the final milestone. This was a huge success. But now the question becomes, what happened? Did the community multiply 3-fold over a year? Well, there's something I haven't told you about yet. While the community as a whole drove the progress of the prize pool based rewards, individuals who held the compendium were able to level through another progression system. By completing tasks and objectives, they would get compendium points, which allowed them to receive individual rewards, a clear prelude to what would be battle pass missions. Although unlike modern battle pass missions, a lot of these missions were based around engaging with the esports rather than the actual game. More akin to sports betting today, but without any of the crippling debt. Players could even progress further by purchasing compendium points outright, similar to how modern battle passes let you directly purchase pass levels. But more importantly, the proto-pass had evolved. The progression system went from being solely community driven to being a hybrid that was also dependent on the individual. The following year, they would prove that this wasn't a fluke. With the International 2015 compendium, announced at the beginning of May 2015, they once again sought to break records. At the same price point, this new compendium totaled 20 stretch goals, with a final milestone of $15 million. Could they do it again? Well, on August 8th, 2015, the international tournament concluded.
Survivor, CDEC, it looks troublesome. It looks really, really bad for them. Aggressive on the run, Universe right behind him. They keep running out for GG, well played. ET are your TI5 champions.
$18,429,613. This was the final prize pool, over 20% past the final milestone. It was an unmitigated success. But why? This was an increase in sales by nearly 70%. This can't just be attributed to player increase. No, I believe this was due to a shift in compendium objectives. You see, while the 2014 compendium had more stretch goals with a smaller final milestone, the 2015 compendium had its focus on individual based objectives, having even more rewards that you could unlock on your own, with tasks that shifted away from engaging with the esports side of the game to objectives centralized around playing the main game, like completing tasks before a certain time, getting kills in specific ways, and obtaining specific items. These would be virtually identical to how Battle Pass missions function now. At this point, the proto-pass was a proven success. It told Valve that players wanted to have more reasons to play their game, more challenges that make rewards feel earned, and so they would start expanding past Dota 2 and into other franchises. Released on July 2nd, 2015, the TF2 Gunmetal Pass had come out simultaneously with the Gunmetal campaign. This update allowed players to play on 4 community-made maps, but only pass holders could take on special tasks and missions. The pass cost $6 and lasted for 6 months. By taking on these missions, you would unlock exclusive skins, taunts, and cosmetics, focusing on gameplay without any sort of fundraising. This would mark a shift in the design philosophy of the proto-pass, having started as a solely community-driven progression system before moving into a hybrid progression system, before being an individual-driven system. It would be the first of its kind, but certainly not the last. The next year, on February 17th, 2016, Valve would release the Operation Wildfire Pass. Functionally, it was identical to TF2's Gunmetal Pass, a premium that would let players complete specialized missions for exclusive rewards. But it wouldn't be until a month later that another company would decide to adopt the proto-pass system. On March 15th, Smite would release their 2016 seasonal ticket. Just like Dota 2's compendium, the seasonal tickets were aimed at fundraising for their competitive events. Starting in 2015, the seasonal ticket was a single bundle, where by purchasing it, you would get a frame and a skin. But in 2016, the seasonal ticket looked suspiciously familiar. They changed how the seasonal ticket worked, with a design heavily resembling Dota 2's compendium, where purchasing the ticket contributed to the prize pool of their final tournament. Although this seasonal ticket didn't come with any community-driven milestones. Rather, by engaging with the esports, you could get points to unlock rewards. Although with no transparency, the success of this attempt is left unknown. Nevertheless, it would still send a message that other game studios were taking notice of what Valve was doing, and were willing to try it out for themselves. 2 months later, it was around time for Dota 2 to release its yearly compendium. But something strange was going on. It wasn't a compendium, it was something called a On May 16th, the International 2016 Battle Pass would come out. This would be the first time the term Battle Pass would be used to refer to a progression system. Just like its predecessors, 25% of the proceeds from the Battle Pass would be contributed to the final prize pool. But unlike the compendiums, there was no community-driven progression system. All the rewards were earned by playing the game and completing missions. It was a sign that Valve was fully committed to making Battle Passes revolve solely around gameplay. And to support this, the Battle Pass had 2,500 tiers and 140 rewards. This is leagues more than previous compendiums, as well as the other passes released by Valve. And the results?
Go out through the back lines and attack. Now the lasso. They bounce Oscar. We are ripped apart. The buybacks. It won't be enough. Go game on play. Wings are your international 2016 champion.
$20,770,460. Compared to the previous year, this Battle Pass had raised over $2.3 million more dollars. This set the precedent that players prefer progression systems that were solely based around the individual. Along with that, they not only released the standard Battle Pass, but also a pre-leveled Battle Pass with 50 levels already put on it, something that would be standard practice in Battle Passes today. Afterwards, we wouldn't see any change in the Battle Pass system until on July 25th, 2017, Epic Games released Fortnite. This was a game that practically took the world by storm. With its unique building and looting gameplay, inside of then groundbreaking Battle Royale genre, it quickly found its player base, but they knew they had to find a way to keep players engaged. On December 14th, 2017, they released Season 2 of the game. This came with an update to the map, but more importantly, it came with its first Battle Pass. Just like Dota, it was entirely individual based. You unlocked rewards for playing, but along with the premium pass, they would also add a free pass track. This would mark the first time the dual pass system was used, allowing players who couldn't afford or didn't want to buy the Battle Pass the chance to still gain rewards, setting a standard not just for its successors in future seasons, but in the gaming industry as a whole. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Fortnite's success broke gaming, but not in the way that you'd think. More games didn't start adapting the Battle Pass because Fortnite's Battle Pass was a success. They did it because Fortnite was a success. Fortnite released at the perfect time, because later that same year, the new social media platform TikTok would release internationally. And what else would you talk about besides the popular game that everyone was playing? It was an opportunity to flex your victory royale, gain some recognition in the game that everyone was talking about. Fortnite had unknowingly become the perfect storm. With such a vocal, growing, and most importantly, dedicated player base, other game companies took notice. But in the most literal sense, not every game can be like Fortnite. So what else could companies do? They adopted a part of the game that was not tied down to genre or gameplay, the Battle Pass. Now, there wasn't so much an evolution after this as much as a convergence. You see, as companies started implementing the dual-track Battle Pass into their games, one game had the idea to combine both these into a single track, where you would be able to gain rewards without paying a premium, just like the free pass, but on that same track were levels exclusive to the Battle Pass. The change was entirely stylistic. Some might even argue a downgrade. And who created this system? I don't know. Some of the most momentous innovations tiptoe quietly onto history's stage. Walter Isaacson. After Fortnite, so many games had implemented the Battle Pass. It wouldn't take long for it to change in some way. At some point, the dual track was combined into a mixed track, and as this system got noticed, more games started to implement a mixed track system. But who was the first? I can't say for certain. After all, most games don't make it a point to update their players when they change their Battle Pass system. It would usually be quietly rolled out. Now, this isn't exactly how I wanted to end this video. I wanted to end this knowing that I gave everyone all the answers to any questions they might have, but I haven't played nearly enough games, nor have I for nearly as long to have a concrete answer. The only lead I have is that the first mixed track Battle Pass would have been released after Fortnite Season 2's Battle Pass, and this is where I need to ask for your help. What is the earliest game that you remember having a mixed track Battle Pass? With your help, we might be able to put together the pieces of this mystery and finally put it to rest.